The peddler soon found that he had a very bad bargain. Nutcracker was a naughty little dwarf. All day long he did no good to anyone, only mischief. He got into the nuts that were ready to go to market, and he cracked every one with his great mouth. Then he climbed the nut trees outside and threw shells at the people passing by. When the peddler's wife tried to catch him with her broom, out from under it he would slide, and jump to the shelf and hide inside the clock, or he would dance a little way ahead of the broom and make faces at the peddler's wife. He had only two friends, the great big barnyard cock who took him for rides around the garden, and little Sugar Dolly, whom he loved very dearly. Now Sugar Dolly was almost as much trouble as Nutcracker, for she would do no work, and she would eat nothing but honey and sweets from the flowers, and if she could not have all the flowers in the garden, she would sit in a corner and cry. It was Nutcracker who brought her sweets, and Nutcracker who comforted her when she cried. But at last, when Nutcracker had eaten all the nuts that were gathered in the house, and all that grew in the garden, he decided to run away, for the peddler's house no longer amused him. So early one morning he buttoned his little soldier jacket tightly around him, hopped on the cock's back. The cock spread his wings, and they went over the wall and far, far away. Nutcracker had decided to make a home for Sugar Dolly somewhere else. The old peddler awoke in the morning, and he found the house very, very still. No cock in the garden crowed, and no little dwarf Nutcracker was about rattling nuts. And Sugar Dolly sat in a corner and cried all day long, nor would she be comforted by all the sweets in the garden, because Nutcracker had gone away. The old peddler took Sugar Dolly upon his knee and got down the sugar bowl for her to eat from, but she still cried. For many, many days she sat in the chimney corner and grew more and more thin. At last the white hen, who had a nest beneath the front stairs, took pity on Sugar Dolly and told her that Nutcracker had gone away on the cock's back. "Oh, take me away too," cried poor little Sugar Dolly. So the white hen, with Sugar Dolly on her back, early one morning flew over the garden wall and across the meadow to find Nutcracker. At first they were not sure which way to go. No one had seen Nutcracker and the cock. But one day they found one of the cock's red-tail feathers by the roadside, and a bit further on they came to another, and then, when they had entered a deep, deep wood, they came to the cock himself, strutting proudly about and gathering hazelnuts. "Where, oh, where is my dear Nutcracker?" asked Sugar Dolly of the cock. "That I do not know," he said. "He climbed a great tree, and that was the last I saw of him." But when the white hen saw the cock, she decided to go no further, so Sugar Dolly went on by herself to hunt for Nutcracker. The woods were very dark when it came night, but Sugar Dolly carried a bright glowworm for a lantern. In the morning she was asked to breakfast by some bees, who fed her all the honey she could eat. "Have you seen Nutcracker, a little dwarf in a brown soldier's jacket?" she asked of the bees. Oh, yes, the bees had seen Nutcracker, but it had been many days before he had buzzed by. "Buzz, buzz, 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 over grasses and flowers. Nutcracker has gone through the wood's green bowers," hummed the bees. So Sugar Dolly hurried on. She called to the birds as she went, "Have you seen my Nutcracker, a little dwarf with thin legs and a very wide mouth?" And the birds sang back to Sugar Dolly, "Pick, pick, pick, pick. Be quick, be quick. Yonder Nutcracker springs and rushes through the green bushes. Be quick, be quick." Sugar Dolly did hear a rustling, but when she crept beneath the bushes to see, she found only a squirrel who chattered and threw shells in her face. Poor little Sugar Dolly! She called to the bluebells, "Little blue flowers so blue, did Nutcracker pass you?" But the wind shook the bluebells, and they answered not a word. Sugar Dolly would have cried then if she had not come, all at once, upon the fairy palace of the Queen Rosebush. The palace was made of green leaves, with thorns at the corners to keep out the crickets, and there came a sound of music and singing from inside. "Is it a party?" asked Sugar Dolly of a gold bug. "It is a party," said the gold bug. "I will take you in." So Sugar Dolly went inside the palace with the gold bug, and she saw the queen in a rose-leaf dress and a veil of spider's net, sitting upon the throne, and the young princesses in bright, shining, golden dresses, sitting beside her. The birds were the orchestra. "You may spend the night with us," said Queen Rosebush graciously. So Sugar Dolly slept in a pink rosebud all night, and breakfasted from ambrosia in the morning, and thanked the Queen for her kindness, and started once more to look for Nutcracker. But as she went on her way through the forest, she came to a singing brook, and she sat down beside it to rest. And she listened, for the brook was singing to her as it flowed along its pebbles. "From mountains I come, where the dwarfs have their home. In the cave where I spring, Nutcracker is king. To him swiftly flee, his queen thou shalt be." "I shall find my Nutcracker, I shall find my Nutcracker," said Sugar Dolly, jumping up. She ran and ran by the edge of the brook, far, far along, as far as the brook flowed, calling, "Nutcracker, Nutcracker," but no Nutcracker answered. At last she came to the place where the brook started from a deep cave, and as she called "Nutcracker," the rocks answered back, "Nutcracker," and that was all. No little dwarf came out. So Sugar Dolly sat down on the rocks, very much discouraged and tired, and after a while she fell fast asleep.